Today's October the 17th of 2015, and my name is Osman Hernandez. And if you could just state your name for me, please.
Pauletta Gonzales. Pauletta Reyna Gonzales.
Okay. And if we could just start off, just talking a little bit about your family history, how they came to Texas, or if they were already here.
First of all, I'm at least a fourth generation Texan.
Okay.
So they weren't from Mexico. We have no relatives in Mexico.
Okay. All right. Okay. We can just talk a little bit more about their history and that.
Well, my father was born in Bracketville, Texas. My mother was born in Taylor, Texas. My siblings, I'd say about 5 of us were born in Brady, Texas. 1 or 2 were born in Dallas, Texas, and the last 3 children were born in Fort Worth. We lived on 500 2nd downtown. And I'll tell you what I remember then, because I must have been about 2 or 3. And I have a cousin that's my same age, was my same age. And my mother and my aunt stayed home. But my father and all the men shared sheep. They're sheep shearers. So when they'd come in, they'd give her and me pennies. So we'd cross the street. Now that I think was Grove, on the side door, and give it to the man. Give them pennies to the man. And he, all I remember about him, I don't know whether it was white or whether it was black. All I remember is his long white apron.
Oh, sorry.
And he'd go in. It was a saloon. It was a big building, and it had a balcony. And when he'd go in, we'd peek around the door, and we saw, where they put their feet, the chrome and the spittoons. It was empty because it was during the day. But that's all I remember. And then we'd get our peanuts and go back across the street. But the oddest thing I remember, and I didn't know what was going on, because I'll tell you, we were about that age. And next, behind that saloon were 3 shotgun houses. We played outside, and I remember there was a black, heavyweight black lady sitting on a chair in bra and panties and hollering. We didn't know what she was saying, but my mother and my aunt would say, "Come in the house." And back then you didn't say why, nothing, you just went. So we'd go in, and it was years later that I asked one of my other cousins, which was a lot older than me, what was that about? Because it was a neighborhood. There was 2nd Street on 1st Street where a lot of Mexican people lived. And I never saw the front, but we could see the back. And it was a white house with steps going down and nothing but rock. And she said, "Didn't you know there were prostitutes?" I said, "Well, what was all that hollering?" She said, "Well, they were hollering at the soldiers." I didn't know it until years later. That's what I saw. But anyway, we could get out of the house and walk straight to town. In downtown, it was a Pontiac dealership, Striplings, Leonard's, everybody. But before we got there, I don't know what nationality those people were, but they had their shoes, hats, and all along the sidewalk. You'd go by there and you'd walk between their merchandise, but it was open. And that was about pretty close to across the street from the courthouse. That's where we grew up. We walked everywhere. We went downtown. We went all the way on 7th Street to pay the light company. And then further south out around 10th, we'd go pay the water, the gas is over there. But we walked everywhere. And I went to Charles C. Nash, and from Charles C. Nash, we weren't allowed to go to Riverside, which would have been closer. We were sent all the way to off of Rosedale, Ernest Parker Junior High. We had to buy our cards, and the bus driver would punch our rides. And we'd get off at Joe Horn's, which I don't know what street it was, but that was a drugstore, and that's where we bought the cards. Then from there, we transferred to another card to get to Rosedale. And then we'd get off on Rosedale and Hemphill and walk 2 blocks up, well, 2.5 blocks up to go to school. And I often wondered, why didn't they let us? It would have been a 10-minute ride on the bus to get to Riverside. So, and then from there, I started technical high school when it was in Northside. But I quit because I had to go to work.
And what year was that?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I started working when I was 13.
Okay.
And I was working as a bus girl when I was 14 at the Greyhound downtown.
Okay.
But I remember exactly what downtown looked like.
Okay. All right. Now, as far as churches that you attended in the community?
Well, there was a little place they called Goodwill, and it was a Baptist church. We could go there after school or Sunday school. It was right off Peach. It was around the corner from Nash. But I lived farther down, all the way through Peach, crossing the tracks, and Live Oak, with a main street runs across. We lived there, and then we lived on Holly, or Hog. I don't know which was which. We always refer to either one. But we'd walk to school.
Okay.
And let me tell you, there was always a fighting, not in school, after school, because the whites did not like us. They didn't like us, and they beat the hell out of my cousin. But I told her, don't get in, because I'm not going to get in. That's not our fight, because they're picking on another little girl. Well, she decided to get in there. Well, they beat the hell out of her. That's what it was like.
Yeah. So it was a lot of, so segregation was big.
Oh, I mean, it wasn't in school, but I'll tell you one thing. They didn't prefer to have us there. Let me